All right, I'm going to go over ISA number 5, Gospels analysis. Compare the parallels of the passage, this is point 1 in the question, and make several observations concerning the differences of the passage. Basically, I want you to be sure to point out what are the different passages. You got Matthew 22, Mark 12, and Luke 10. May be helpful to go ahead and write those passages out because they're brief. Not the whole chapter, just the section that relates to Matthew 22, 34 to 40. And then I think the best thing to do here is to, at the end of each book, or under Matthew, you may want several things that are distinctive to what you see there in Matthew 22, 34 to 40. Then do the same thing for Mark, and Luke. And then at the end have observations that describe, in general, after reading all three, what are you finding interesting, the dynamics, the similarities, the differences, and that sort of thing. So be specific there, and as detailed as you can with those. So that's comparing the parallels there. And in general, when you do these assignments, it's best if you state the question and then just write the answer underneath, so that I can follow what you're doing there. So number 2, note what comes before and after the passage in question and its parallels. Is there something that suggests a connection between one pericope and another? So in Matthew and Mark, there are connections, obviously, as well as in Luke. So you're wanting to specifically state what's going on before and after the passage in Matthew, and in Mark, what's before and after that passage, and in Luke. And then you're tying it together in terms of is there a connection between these with what's before and after, and how does the fact that in Matthew they have something different before and after, Matthew has something different than Mark does potentially, how does that play into what's actually happening in their passage? So that should be a relatively chunky section of this assignment. Be as specific as you can. Try to get away from, if you can summarize this in 2 sentences, you're not specifically telling me what's going on before the passage, what are the verses in Mark what am I trying to say? Make quotations, I should see references in this section is all I'm saying. Number 3. Identify the form of Matthew 22, 34 to 40 according to the categories provided in Klein. So again, look up the categories and then what kind of form is this section of Matthew, and then say why. You want to say why because if you miss it, I want to at least give you some points again like I did previously in other assignments where you're doing something like picking out a certain form. If you make a good argument, you can still get a lot of the points. And it shows why you made your decision. So that's number 3. And then number 4, provide a statement describing the overall message of the passage in no more than a paragraph. There's going to be part of this that's potentially obvious, but again, you want to be saying the overall message statement that you're making here. Show me that your study has influenced your message statement. Show me that your study of hermeneutics has influenced the way you do a message statement. You shouldn't be able to give a message statement by just reading the passage, at least not at this point in your careers. And you shouldn't be able to give a message statement just in terms of your general understanding of reading the passage and then just making some observations. You want to have something of the dynamic there that requires more than that. So at minimum, you're going to want to say what's the greater context of that chapter or that section in that book and what's going on. One big hint I'll give you for this one is that if you go back and read Matthew 22, what I like to do is I'll pull it up on my Kindle app for the PC, and I'll put it on my big screen here. And here, actually, I will show you. You see that? So you can see a large section of Matthew. So you got the beginning of the chapter there. I don't know if you can see this. And then you've got the section that we're analyzing that's down here, right? So at the beginning of that section, it kind of gives you the context of what Jesus is talking about. So Matthew 22:1, and again Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. ... And it continues. Then in verse 15, then the Pharisees plotted how to entangle him with his words. Then in 23, the same day, Sadducees came to him, who say that there is no resurrection, and they asked him a question. Then, verse 34, but when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, and that's the section we're analyzing, but this is all in the context of what? Starting in Matthew 22. I would advise you to try to play that into your message statement. And then there's some key pieces of potentially the law that you may want to play in. He mentions the law twice in that section. So how does that influence your message statement? So I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a buzz or an email, and be happy to talk to you. And I look forward to seeing some great papers.